What do you think is the biggest money myth that we all carry?
Oh man, there's a lot of those.
Yeah.
If we're talking about people in the sense of the average person, the biggest money myth is that I can't become financially successful.
Going back to that worthiness,
Goes back to that.
thing, yeah.
We'll look at America today. Somewhere between 6 to 7 out of 10 Americans have less than $1,000 saved up for an emergency, which means if you were driving down the street today and your car breaks down, you're going to have to put it on your credit card debt to fix that situation. The average American is not happy with their career. More than half of Americans say that they're unhappy with the job that they're working. More than half of Americans say that they're unfulfilled with what they're doing. That means statistically, not just general terms, statistically, the majority of Americans are broke, unhappy, and unfulfilled. And we often think that we can't get out of this situation, when in reality, it's not that you can't, it's that you believe you can't. And now you have to change the way that you think. If you believe you can, what are you going to do? If somebody who was struggling really, truly believed, and I'm not talking about the think and grow rich, I mean actually believed I can become successful, what are they going to do? Well, instead of watching 2 hours of Netflix every day, which is what the average American is doing, the average American watches more than 2 hours of Netflix every single day. Instead of watching Netflix, I'm going to go onto YouTube. I'm going to go into podcasts. I'm going to start absorbing some financial education. I'm going to start absorbing some business education. I'm going to start absorbing some money education. And then I'm going to start applying. Maybe I start working on a side hustle. I start working on a business idea. I start working on how do I make more money. Maybe I start tracking my money. I start seeing I'm spending way too much money here, here, and here. And you start changing what you do. And then maybe you start seeing a little bit of success, and now you start investing your money instead of into a new pair of shoes, into a book. And you start reading some books about money management, financial education, building a business. And now you start to see a little bit more success. And now instead of investing your money into a car, you invest your money into a rental property or into stocks or into your own business idea or into your friend's business idea. But you got to be careful with that. I don't want to say go give your money to your broke cousin Bunty. Just be cautious with that. But now you're using your money as a tool as opposed to as a fool, because I was that guy. When I started learning about entrepreneurship, I worked in the party promotion business. I was hosting club parties in college. I don't drink, and I didn't drink. I wasn't into partying, but to me, that was the avenue that I saw to make money because I was working in the wedding industry when I was in high school. And I saw everybody blowing money they didn't have when they were in college. And I said, well, this is a way for me to make some money. So I started hosting these college parties. I started making money. And I quickly realized the money wasn't enough to do something I hated, because I hated the industry. On one hand, I'm sitting here telling people why alcohol is bad, why I don't party. Friday nights, I'm the first one at the club because I got to set up the club and I got to host the party. And I got so sick of it, I just stopped. I mean, I remember somebody was telling me that I could sell the business when I was like in the prime, and I didn't even know what that meant at the time. I don't think I could have really sold it. I mean, it wasn't that established of a business, but it was like one of those things where for me, I just wanted to get out and I just stopped. And so you got to learn, right? You got to go through the realization that I can do more, I can achieve more. And when you believe you can do it, you will try different things. Because you're going to screw up. You're going to fail. I don't care who you are. You're going to screw up. I've screwed up more than anybody I know. I have made so many mistakes. And if I walked you through my mistakes, you would realize, wow, Jaspreet is really not that smart. You're 100% right. When you can learn from your mistakes the first time, that's a good thing. It takes me 3 times. I'm making the same mistake before I learn something. You are going to screw up. You're going to have bad things happen. But it's all about now, what do you do when those bad things happen that can help you get to the next level, especially when it comes to money.
So I want to keep diving a little bit into the psychology of things, and we'll transition into really like tangible, practical things that people can do with their actions that can make a huge difference in the decades to come of their life. One thing that has been extremely crucial for me, like when you look at that quadruped theory that you kind of broke down from financial to mental to physical to financial well-being, I've always seen the best investment we can make is in ourselves, and to like way back 10 years ago, I would spend, it's not something that maybe would be recommended, but I would spend money I didn't have to really like become as physically vibrant, mentally clear, sharp, and aligned with like the direction I was going, because we can always be confident in a direction that we're going in life, but it's not aligned with where we want to go. We're gonna have to take a course correct. It's kind of energy at some point we're gonna have to spend. I just really have always invested in myself so much money over the past 10 years, learning more, immersing myself in different courses and experiences, learning from different teachers, reading different books and podcasts. And, I think there's really inexpensive ways to be able to invest in yourself nowadays with YouTube University and all these podcasts. So it's incredible what we have access to now. But I would just love for you to speak into the value of investing into yourself and the dividends that pays for the rest of your life.
Yeah. So, the funny thing about investing in yourself is the question is, what does that mean? And that's I think a tougher question to answer because it evolves depending on where you are in your journey. So when I grew up and I wanted to get into entrepreneurship, this was discouraged in my house. When I started my, party promotion business, my parents didn't know this. I couldn't tell them because they would have lost their mind. The only time they learned about this was like when I started getting on podcasts and TV, and then they heard me talk about it there when I'm like in my late 20s, 30s. So, I had to do it in secret. At that time, me investing in myself was screwing up because I didn't know how else to learn. I just did it. Then I started reading books. I didn't like reading for the first 17 years of my life, until I found a book that I actually liked. Until I started reading books about financial education and business, I actually started reading voluntarily and listening to audio CDs. That was the next way I started investing in myself. So I started by making mistakes. Then I started reading books. And then it was going out and trying things. And not just mistakes, but trying new things. So what I mean by that was, as I started to realize, like, this party promotion business is not for me, I need to find a real career. I got involved with real estate. First, it was real estate investing. But then I was like, I want to learn more about this because I feel like I could make a career out of real estate. So I got my real estate salesperson's license. Then I realized, this is not for me. I'm not the best salesperson. I don't really like showing people homes. I don't think I can do this as a career. So then I started doing more things. I started buying classes. I started taking coaching programs. Some of them were complete crap. Some of them were really good. And eventually, as I started to grow, I started to realize, okay, I have built some investments, which is good. I've started investing in real estate. I'm seeing some success here. This is me investing in myself because I made a lot of mistakes. I'm reading books. I'm now seeing some success. I'm trying a lot of business ideas. Some of them work, some of them don't work, but I need something that's scalable, something that I can actually build, because I really liked the idea of building a business. That was something that was interesting to me. You don't have to like that. That was just something that was interesting to me. And so then I went on investing in myself to figuring out what business I'm going to build. So one of the first real businesses that I really invested in was, I'm going to build a blog. I'm going to build, because I started seeing some traction on the internet, I'm going to build a blog on the internet, on Google, that you can search things related to investing, and we're going to make money through affiliates and sponsorships and advertisers and whatnot. But I don't have a lot of time to manage it. I'm busy running my own business, other stuff that I'm doing. So I'm going to hire some smart people. I'm going to hire one of the best blog consultants out there. I'm going to hire people to write the content, and it'll be all good. Well, 2 years and $500,000 later, it was shut down because it was a complete horrible transaction, because I thought I was investing in myself, trying to build it, but it went nowhere. We were making no money, seeing no traction, seeing no success, and I was dumping money into it. So I stopped that 2 years later. Probably should have stopped it sooner, but that's how long it took me. And then I started my journey again. All right, how do I figure out what I want to do for business? And So now I kind of go back to the drawing board. What is interesting to me? And what do I like and what am I passionate about? I know I'm interested and passionate about this financial space. It was something that I had to learn on my own, which really made me passionate because I realized I went through all this school and never learned a thing about money. And yet the wealthiest people understand money versus everybody else doesn't. That kind of really got me intrigued by it. I really enjoyed studying what's happening in the financial markets. I didn't do good in econ, but I enjoyed studying it. So I enjoy this. I'm passionate about this. Is this a monetizable industry? Well, yeah, the financial industry is obviously very monetizable. What type of service can I provide to people? And during the pandemic time, obviously the financial markets got flipped upside down. The whole economy was shut down. No one knows what's happening. I went from making a few YouTube videos a week to making 7 YouTube videos a week, 1 YouTube video every day, because things were changing so quickly. And I needed a way to stay on top of what was happening because it's a lot of work required, especially with everything else that I was doing. So I asked my team, hey, can you give me a daily briefing of what's happening in the markets? Just give me an email breaking down what's happening in the markets. That way I know like what to talk about. So they started doing that. And then I started mentioning this on my YouTube channel, like, hey, if you want a daily briefing of what's happening, just join this newsletter. I was not very creative. I called it the Minority Mindset newsletter because I didn't really think much of it. That started to grow a little bit just organically. And people said, Jaspreet, this is really cool. I'm really appreciating your newsletter. I said, oh, okay, people are actually reading it. And that was when we then had the idea of maybe this can be what we're searching for, because people are getting a lot of value out of this free newsletter that's breaking down the markets. Because the goal for us was to explain what's happening in the news in a way that anybody can understand. We follow what's called a 16-year-old rule, because if a 16-year-old can't understand it, it's too complicated. And the reason why was because when I used to tune into the financial news, I had no idea what was happening. I turn on CNBC and they talk about the 10-year yield is falling. What does that mean? I mean, it's so confusing that you're catering to like 0.5% of the country. And so I wanted to make it a little bit more accessible and understandable. So that then became what we call Market Briefs, which is our free financial newsletter, as a way to now serve people that wanted to learn about money. But again, we weren't making money because it was a free newsletter. We didn't have a monetization plan. But I knew, okay, people are interested in this. People are liking this. People are getting value out of this. Let's see where this goes. So now this becomes the Market Briefs newsletter. I'm going to start promoting this a little bit more aggressively. So I start promoting Market Briefs more. It starts to grow more. Now we have a larger audience. And now the question is, well, okay, we're seeing interest in this newsletter. People are liking it. People are reading it. We're just not making any money. How do we do that? So that's when we started investing to figure out how can we monetize it while also keeping this free. So we learned about, okay, we can use advertising to provide native advertisements to our audience. That way we now have money so we can continue funding growth. And that then became Briefs Media, which is the business that I run now. So it was, you talk about what is investing in you, right? I started by making mistakes. Then I read books. Then I tried things. I invested in different programs to learn things. And then I just kept doing. And at the end of the day, investing in you has to have some sort of action involved. That way you can keep learning and growing. And whether that's through trying things, reading books, taking classes, taking coaching, making mistakes, but you have to keep experimenting and trying things, because that's ultimately what investing in you is all about, because you don't know what's going to work.
Yeah, totally. And like you said, it's on a case-by-case basis. Somebody maybe really needs to invest in their physical health, because if your financial status, your spiritual or mental status kind of go out the window if you're deathly ill, it's like that becomes a forefront of everything. And then, same with your mindset, like exploring these deep-seated programs that we were talking about earlier. Like we need to sometimes in our journey, often really like go excavate what are those things, look at them, implant new stories, start to act in a way, and then go and learn through experience by failing and trying. And I think that's it's a really important perspective on it.
There's going to be some people that hate you. How do you deal with that?
If you don't have haters, you're not doing your thing.
I love that.
You rarely hear people hate on you that are higher than you. It always
100%.
comes from down here. When you go to a football game, do you see the people on the field hating on each other? No, because they know how hard it is.